Hey everyone, Tony D with a little bit of I guess you'd call this a hot take. Oh, and Little Joan's here too. She's very sleepy today. You won't be seeing much of Little Joan, I don't think, in today's videos. Anyhow, I was checking out Deadline, as I often do. Oh, thanks for making me a liar. And Deadline, for those of you who don't know, is sort of an industry website, paper. No, I don't think they have a paper. I think it's just a website. I believe it's owned by Variety, so basically it's like more inside Variety. But today was interesting in that, well, they kind of do this often, but this was particularly egregious, right? So I'm looking at it, and they've got some top stories here, and one of them is TV. SNL delivers soap opera treatment to Inquiry. Okay, I don't know why you would cover SNL like that, but whatever. It's one of the top four stories. Then you scroll down, and where'd it go? Okay, so now we're into TV again, a completely different story, but it's also about Saturday Night Live. SNL skit sandwich, Harry Styles, Popeye's chicken, and Jordan Peele, which I guess is a rundown of SNL from Saturday, right? So that's from the 17th. Yeah, that's today. And then scroll down further, trending on Deadline. First, it starts with how Charlie's Angels bombed, basically, which I don't know why that would be the number one trending story. Like, why would you want to cover the bomb? But, oh, whatever. Then two is something about Colin Kaepernick. But then three, Saturday Night Live turns boring impeachment hearings into something. So, like, Saturday Night Live again. That's 3 times. Then, no, it's not working. Oh, there we go. Then the 7th trending story is Saturday Night Live pays tribute to a former NBC late night executive, right? So 2 of the SNL stories are trending. Then another story from yesterday, SNL Booksmart is in-flight movie for Airline from Hell. And then right after that is another story from the same day about the executive, and then the other story. So it's just like SNL, 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 SNL. Is that the only thing going on in TV, Deadline, Saturday Night Live? Is there nothing on the other channels? I mean, that is a ridiculous amount of coverage of SNL. Does NBC own Deadline or something? Because that's pathetic. I mean, even NBC must have some other shows. This is not... Look, I was around when SNL was amazing, right? When that premiered and they started doing these outrageous sketches, it was crazy. Because you have to understand television at that time. It was all network TV, right? In my area, it was 3, 6, and 10. ABC, NBC, CBS. That was basically it. Then you had the PBS, which here was Channel 12. And then you had the rerun channels. You had 3 of them, and basically they were just all reruns. It was all like local affiliates, and this is back when you had to turn a knob to change your channel. And so there was no alternative, really. I mean, when you watched 3, 6, and 10, you essentially got the same shows on each channel. You were either watching one sitcom, another sitcom, or another sitcom. You were either watching one kind of news, the other kind of news, or the other kind of news. And they were all kind of the same. When SNL came on, there was nothing like... There had been sketch shows in the past, but nothing like this for that time, right? There hadn't been your show of shows for decades. So, and it was very outrageous for its time. It was kind of adult. It wasn't quite R-rated, but it was like just right, past the line. They weren't cursing because you couldn't curse then, but they were pretty close to doing some crazy stuff. And they did do crazy stuff, and it was fun. And everybody really enjoyed it because it was just that good. It was on late at night, so kids weren't supposed to watch it. I watched it. But, and it was on Saturday night, and it was live. So, like, you got that tension that something could happen, right? And every once in a while something did. Nothing crazy, like people would start laughing or whatever. Now, SNL now, so boring. So boring to me. It's like they have too much money. There's too much success in it that they can't leave it alone and let people do truly outrageous stuff. I had a friend who was an intern on it, and this is a few years ago. This is like in the 80s. And, every portion of the show, the actors and creative people are fighting over space and time and airtime to get on the show. Everybody needed to be on that show to further their career, to whether you're a writer or an actor. And it's not what it was. So the idea that you have to constantly cover this like it's news, like it's important. It's not important. It should not be treated as something that's important. The show itself is so self-important now. I just couldn't even begin to watch it. It's just become a parody of itself in a lot of ways. You've got this assumption, like they're doing this, they're crowing like, oh, they're doing this great thing about the impeachment hearings, like everybody's watching it. Everybody's not watching it because it's boring and because a lot of people think it's BS anyway. Even the people who have Trump derangement syndrome are probably barely watching the impeachment proceedings because, let's be honest, what's happening? Nothing. Okay? After 3 years of this, even the guys on SNL should really think twice about doing this stuff. They part of the problem is when SNL was new, television was a shared experience that most of us had, right? So if there was a hit show on one network, chances are you watched it and everybody you knew watched it because they only had 3 channels. So if Game of Thrones, they would have never aired Game of Thrones back then, but let's imagine Game of Thrones was a big hit show, right? And imagine it was on a network TV. Everybody would have been watching it. Everybody would have been riveted to that. Let me think of an example from that era. I guess the whole Dallas show, Who Shot JR? Like, that was one that I didn't even watch, but everybody watched. Everybody was talking about that, Who Shot JR or whatever. And that was a show that people watched. And so if you did a comedy sketch about Dallas, which was the name of the show, and Who Shot JR, people would get it. People would get it because even if they didn't watch the episode itself, everybody was talking about it. The inquiry doesn't even have that kind of, the impeachment inquiry doesn't have that kind of legs. It just doesn't. My nephews who are young, they're about college age, and they don't watch the news. They don't watch the news. If it's not on their phone, they don't care. So, if they're following it through something on the internet, it's just sad. It's just sad. Any good portions of SNL that come out now, they get clipped and put right on the internet, and then people say, oh man, you got to see this one sketch on SNL. It's pretty funny. This one clip or whatever. It's not like, the idea that you could write an entire article, and there are entire articles on these sketches. Where is this coming from? This is tone deafness driven by, it's funny because these people on Deadline, they're in the media, and yet they're being driven by their own, in my view, misinformation, right? So their own misinformation tells them that this is important, so they treat it as an important thing, but it's really not. You're buying your own snake oil and drinking it, Hollywood. So you should really stop. The other stories you covered about movies and what's going on. What's really happening in television is all on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, the internet. I just found a YouTube channel called Crypt TV. It's crazy. It's horror stuff. It's pretty cool. And, stuff like that. Like, that's new and innovative. SNL? You're gonna cover SNL like every sketch? Like, oh yeah, we're waiting for the SNL skit to tell us how to think and what to laugh at. All the money in the world just doesn't make you funnier, doesn't make you more edgy and hip. It just, yeah, it's like we're the peasants, and these are the nobility, and their wonderful sense of humor, and they just keep showing it to us, and we keep going, eh.